Alright guys, what is going on? It is 2 a.m. Saturday. Last night I went to see the movie Man of Steel. It's the new Superman movie, based off of his origins, like every fucking Superman movie is. Because who doesn't know his origins anymore? I don't know. Alright, moving on from that, because there is some detail I want to go into. So first, I haven't been to a movie theater in a long time. Got there today, and there's apparently new seats where it shakes with the movie and stuff like that. Yeah, that shit was so annoying. I wasn't in one of them. I was a few rows higher. I could fucking feel them still. And I looked down and actually see these people, they're just shaking like crazy. I'm like, who the fuck would want that? But, I digress. Anyway. So, starting off the movie, lots of trailers. I don't remember a single one of them. They weren't that memorable. But the movie starts off with the birth of Kal-El, and that was an odd scene because I mean we all know how babies are born. Yeah, I think we needed it was like a minute and a half scene of his mom screaming in pain and shit. And I'm like, really? Does this really have to be here? But I learned a lot about Krypton though. I don't know if this is from the comics or what. This is stuff that I never knew about. When I say that people knew his origins, I mean that people know he's an alien from Krypton. They know that Krypton has exploded and that he was sent to Earth before it exploded because there was a massive war going on and they knew it was going to explode. That's all anyone has ever really known because that's all you need to know. So, this is what I learned from the movie. And I'm assuming this is based off the comic, I don't know. So, basically all babies are born, I don't really know how to say it. They're not born naturally. I'll go with that. They're born in a way that when they're born, their destiny's already made for them. They're going to be. You're born to be either a soldier or, a scientist or a politician, whatever. And Kal-El is the first natural-born baby in centuries, and Jor-El knows the planet's doomed, so he's going to send Kal-El off. And see, this is something I didn't know either. It's not the way I always saw it was that Krypton always had a blue sun, but from what they've said is that Earth's yellow sun is simply just a young sun, meaning that Krypton's sun might have been yellow before. A blue sun simply means it's an older sun. I don't know if that's true. Then maybe Superman can't stay on Earth forever because maybe the sun will eventually turn blue. I don't know. That's just a random guess there. Not like it matters, but anyway. So the movie starts off with, I want to say with him as somewhat adult, but it does a great job at showing his childhood through flashbacks. Like he saves a bunch of workers, but goes into the water unconscious, and we see a flashback to him as a kid, and it's actually pretty cool. I like how they did it, and Jonathan Kent, Martha Kent, both. I mean, let's start this off that every cast member was fantastic. I loved them all. Of course, I'm kind of spoiled on Smallville, so when they're like, "Oh, here's Pete Ross, he's a white guy," I'm like, "What?" I remember Smallville is in me here, so when they're showing off people, I'm like, "Hold on, I know that person." And so when they showed Pete Ross and he wasn't black, like he was in Smallville, I was kind of confused. Maybe he's supposed to be white. I don't fucking know. But there are moments in the movie that annoyed me. Simply because this is what always annoys me in these superhero movies. Like, this is why I hate Superman Returns when he flies onto that giant rocket with kryptonite. He's now basically human. And so all these henchmen are, kicking the crap out of Superman. And the same thing happened here. He didn't get the crap kicked out of him, but he stops a fight from happening in some restaurant. This guy acts all tough. He's like, come on. He punches him and obviously does nothing. Like, he hits him and kind of backs off because, he just punched steel. And it's like you think you take the hint there. And then as Clark's walking out, he's like, oh yeah, if you got your tip, and he throws it at him. And I was just like, please just turn around and throw him through the wall. Like, that's the kind of thing I want to see, simply because, I don't know, Clark Kent's probably not that kind of guy, but to me, I'm thinking, all these people that mock you, just take a guy and just poke him through a wall, and people will realize not to fuck with you. That's just always bothered me. That's always bothered me about superhero movies where they make, this godlike person basically immortal, and they beat the shit out of them. I'm like, ugh. It's not. No. It's just it just annoys me. Other than that, the fight scenes were fantastic. I did think that I want to say when he fights General Zod at some point, it got to the point where I was just like, they're pushing it. Like, it was nice. It was a good fight, but all fights do get to the point where you're just like, finish it. Finish it. And this one got there. A really cool part that I saw, though, was when he goes against, was it Faora, I believe? And I assume the big guy with her was the black dude. He never took off his armor. I don't know his name, I'm sorry. But the cool thing was when Faora went against like 5 or 6 or 7 police cops, and it was awesome because like they're all they're all sitting there like shooting at her, and I'll get to that later. But then she uses her super speed, which is really cool. This is the kind of thing I always want to see. She super speeds up to one guy and punches him, and then shoots off to the next guy. That's how you do super speed, damn it. I've always been annoyed when superheroes don't use their fucking powers. Like, we all know that Clark's heat vision or Superman's heat vision is what, most powerful tool? It's like, why doesn't he use that more often? I mean, he uses a nice amount in this movie, and it looks really cool. You'd have to see the movie to see what I'm talking about, but they add a little bit more to it than I thought they would. Yeah, it's supposed to be like a really powerful ability if he, focuses it more, but he never really did. No one ever really did, which is kind of disappointing. I'm like, dude, you could blast away so much shit with that. But, yeah, the super speed portion, my first thought was, bam, get these guys working on the Flash movie. I mean, it would work perfectly. But the fight scenes were great, and another thing that bothered me was when General Zod's talking to Superman. He's like, come on. He's like, I was bred to be a soldier. I was born to be a soldier. I was trained by the best. Where were you trained? To farm? And yet Superman beats him. I'm like, how does that happen? Now, granted, I think somebody would tell me that he learned, all his fighting and everything from the Fortress or from Jor-El or whatever, but we never see that in the movie. We never see anything like that in the movie. Superman just pops up and he knows how to. I mean, like, he actually fights actual hand-to-hand combat, like blocking and all this shit. I'm like, this actually looks like stuff that he'd have to learn, but maybe that's just me. But I'll put spoilers in the topic or in the title as well because there's something big I'm going to spoil later on. But something that always bothered me is this happened mainly with Faora. Is all the people that are shooting at her. Like, do they not... these are the guys who shot a missile at her, and she puts out her hand and it blows up. She comes out with no scratch on her. And yet, when this guy comes out of a helicopter, he pulls out a pistol and he continuously fires at her. I'm like, motherfuckers, guns won't help. Like, I get it, as a human, I would understand some fucking aliens come towards you, your first instinct, if you have a gun, is to shoot that motherfucker. But I would think that if I shot them like crazy, like if I had a machine gun and I shot them like crazy and I see 100 bullets just bounce off them, I'd run. Or I'd find cover, I'd do something other than keep shooting. Because, like, she's on a fucking airplane or helicopter, and again, they just keep shooting at her. The guy even had a grenade launcher. I'm like, dude, don't you realize it's not doing it? Like, she's not even paying attention to you. You mean so little to her. Stop shooting. It's always bothered the crap out of me. Same thing happened to Superman Returns when when Superman flies in front of the machine gun, the guy keeps shooting him, and then he walks up to him and shoots him point blank in the eye with a pistol. I'm like, dude, he's Superman. What do you not understand? The Superman Returns when they still knew him. This one he's still kind of new, but come on. What the fuck, people? What the fuck, humans? Humanity, what the fuck is wrong with you? Stop shooting the Man of Steel with fucking bullets. It don't work. And no, Kryptonite never makes an appearance here. I'm happy about that. My dad made a joke about that too. He's like, oh, watch out, they're going to toss in Kryptonite. They never did. Never once did they toss in Kryptonite, and I am so happy about that. That's what bothers me as well, is every supervillain magically gets a piece of Kryptonite that he can magnify into a bunch of Kryptonite, and bam, Superman's down. Yeah, like I said, there was a lot of great action. A fight scene was pushed to the limits at some point, but a fantastic movie. Now here comes a big spoiler. And this, I admit I didn't see coming because I've been spoiled with too many Batman fucking terrible movies. Because, see, the whole, oh, Batman doesn't kill. Thing is, Superman does. And I tend to forget these things because when it comes to most heroes, to be honest, they do their best to not kill unless it's absolutely necessary. In this movie, it was. And this is where I was, like, the second it happened, I was just like, holy shit. Did he just do that? So, basically, and massive spoiler, so exit this video now if you don't want to hear this. So he's fighting Zod. They crash land someplace, I don't know what the place was, and he gets the upper hand, which is just weird in itself, and he ends up getting him in a chokehold, or whatever you want to call it, and Zod sees all these people running around, and he's like, oh, you love these people so much, and he's like, fine, how about you mourn for their deaths then, and he starts shooting his heat vision at this family, and they're trying to crowd into a little corner to avoid it, and Superman just keeps yelling at him to stop, and he's like, ah ha ha, never. And so Superman finally just yells like crazy, just yelling stop at him, and bam, snaps his neck. Like I said, my first thought was, holy fuck, he just did that. Like, I completely forgot that Superman will kill if necessary. If he has to, he will. So, Batman, go fuck yourself. But to be fair, Batman wouldn't have a chance against fucking General Zod, so there's no point in that. But yeah, it completely shocked me. I completely forgot that Superman does that kind of stuff, if needed. And this is just to save one family. That's one thing I have to point out. I found this hilarious. It's like, they used this thing that they were using to terraform the entire planet, and it was just destroying all of, Metropolis, New York, whatever you want to call it. And it was funny because Zod actually survives a bunch of shit that happened. And apparently the director of the movie decided, you know what, we may have destroyed one city, but we still have more to do. Because then they get into a fight, because then Zod attacks Superman, obviously, and they go to some new city, or maybe it's just another part of Metropolis that hadn't been completely destroyed, and they just start destroying everything. Like, we're talking, Superman hits General Zod, he goes through 10 different buildings that all come down. I'm like, fuck. I would hate to be who's in charge of rebuilding the city. I mean, can you imagine that? You're gonna call, yeah, Superman's fighting General Zod again? Fuck. How much damage is being done? Yeah, we're gonna have to rebuild the entire city. I mean, they just plow through everything. And it's like, as far as, Superman caring for all the humans, bullshit, dude. He's not caring for them enough if he's sitting here, he picks Zod up and just throws him through a building, and the building collapses. I'm like, what the fuck? There's still people around, right? Or has the entire city evacuated within this movie at this point? I mean, I chuckled inside. I'm like, they're sitting there fighting each other and destroying every building in sight. I'm like, wow. At this point, the world's going to be destroyed simply between these two fighting. That's pretty awesome. But eventually he does stop them. And the movie actually had some good humor. I'll give it that. Because the thing I never liked was the first trailer, and then if you go to, I think if you still go to Wikipedia, I'll check here just to make sure, I don't know, the cover's changed, but the cover used to be Superman in cuffs with police around him, and I'm like, okay, he obviously turned himself in, because at this point they didn't realize who he was, and it was funny because in the movie he actually gets up. He's like, okay, let's put our cards on the table, and he just moves his hands apart, and it comes apart, and it's just hilarious. Because even Lois Lane mocks it. She's like, you let them put cuffs on you? He's like, it makes him feel safe. I mean, I'm just sitting here laughing. I'm like the first trailer we saw was of Superman in cuffs being brought in by a bunch of police. I'm like, they realize he can break those, right? I mean, there's really no point in cuffing Superman unless it's kryptonite cuffs, which they aren't. And I had to chuckle at it. I'm like, why the fuck? Of course it makes him feel safer, but oh well. Just a funny little bit in there. But yeah, the movie had good humor, which is always good for a movie like this. So good humor, good action, good actors. It was all generally well done. There was one scene I was annoyed by, like, just made no sense, which is the Jonathan Kent dying scene. And again, spoilers. So this is when Clark Kent was still, a teenager, hadn't left his home at this point, and they're driving on the road, and they see that there's a hurricane about to be forming, or not a hurricane, massive tornado, I guess. And as they're running away, they realize that the dog is still in the car. And at this point, Jonathan Kent is carrying a child, because he helps somebody get a child out of the car. And instead of telling Clark to get the dog, which he should have, because he had plenty of time to go over there, grab the dog, and run back without using any of his powers. Okay. Instead, Jonathan says, "No, take this kid and go to the underpass with your mother." And so he goes to get the dog, and the dog, is hiding obviously, and eventually he's able to open up the other door for the dog. Unfortunately, the door that he opened for himself closed and injured or broke his leg. I'm not really sure. I assumed he just injured it enough that he couldn't walk too well. And so obviously at this point he's not going to be able to get back. And Clark's about to go out and get him. He says no, because he'd have to use his powers and he doesn't want him to do that. I'm like, why didn't you have him get the dog? He didn't have to use any powers to get the fucking dog out of the car and get to the underpass. Had to use no powers at all. But instead, you decide, no, I'm going to do it. This way I can die for you. Like, it just bothered me. It just bothered the crap on me. Like, he really did not have to use his powers at all. Maybe that's how it happened in the comics. I don't know. I'll have to look it up now. But in general, it's a good movie. It's, I want to say, a little over 2 hours long. The site says it's 143 minutes, I think. But, add in the credits and previews and crap. Yeah, you'll still be there for about 2 hours, or a little over 2 hours. So, a fantastic movie. I highly recommend it to anyone. I think that's about it. And it ended great too, because the government was trying to find out where he hangs up his cape, as he put it. And I just thought it was a very well done movie. So very excited, and I might be seeing it tomorrow with a friend. So yeah, definitely see this movie if you haven't. Even if you're not a fan of Superman, I've never been a fan of Superman, but good movie. Go see it.